Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Alongside Jotham Israel, I'm Joe Sullivan, and we welcome you to the Sports Wrap here on Viking Television. On this show, we take a look at HS sports teams after they finish their season, and today we begin with football. Yeah, the Vikings had a tremendous season. They went 10-2, and their only two losses came to the eventual Lincoln Way East Griffins, who were state champions. So, hey, they had a really good season. Yeah, this season was one for the history books, topping off a historic decade. 10-year coach Craig Bazia turned his program around and made a state for HF football all around the state. Yeah, this coach knows what he's doing. When he came into this school 10 years ago, this team hadn't won a game. But 10 years later, they made 10 straight playoff appearances, 2 semi-states, and they were an 8A state runner-up, and they threw in 2 SWSC titles. They're clearly an Illinois powerhouse in football. All year, this team was led by veteran guys who have been on the team since their sophomore year. And it all starts with 3-year starting quarterback Dominic Jones. Yeah, Dominic Jones was the perfect dual threat quarterback. This guy threw for 1,636 yards and ran for another 117. He had a really accurate touch on that long ball, especially when he was looking for his favorite receiver, Will Pauling. But more importantly, he was a really good leader on and off the field. Jones talked about that after the season.
Perfect word to describe this season. It would have to be close to amazing, just with the bonds I built with my teammates and the coaching staff. This year I was able to work with 2 great position coaches, being Coach Buzz and Coach Terry, so I want to thank them. And for my teammates, I mean, I love y'all guys. Y'all have made it fun to come out and compete every day on practice field and translate all the competition we do in practice and turn it over into the game.
Great dual threat quarterback in Jones, but let's not forget about the 3 O-line D1 commits. Yeah, don't forget about the offensive line. Do not sleep on this great group that was led by Oregon commit Marcus Harper. He was a wall all season long. In fact, Buffalo recruit Michael Ford and Delaware State commit Denzel Bryant signed their letter of intent last week. All season long, these guys were regarded as one of the best offensive line units in the state of Illinois.
The main thing is the brotherhood. I keep going back to that, but it's just the brotherhood that's going to go unmatched. Like, these are friends that I made for a lifetime, not just for the rest of high school. I can see them in my future life with my kids, our kids playing together, all of that, because I really love these boys.
Not only did this group help out Dominic Jones, but it paved the way for the running game. Junior running back Sean Allen had the best single season in HF history. He rushed for a school record 2,042 yards, 24 touchdowns, and 7.2 yards per carry.
I mean, what else can you say about this kid? He's fast, evasive, and he was the go-to guy all season long. And the best thing about him, he's only a junior, and he will be back next year. What a great piece to have back on this team.
Another guy who certainly opened things up for the rushing game was junior wide receiver Will Pauling, who currently has 9 D1 offers.
9 D1 offers. I haven't seen a receiver like this come through HF since Kendrick Pryor, who now plays for the Wisconsin Badgers. Pauling has soft hands, lots of speed, and he caught 50 passes for 951 yards and 11 touchdowns. I cannot wait to see what this guy can do next year for the Vikings.
Now, Jotham, the offense has gotten a lot of credit, but it was the defense that kept them in most games. Out of 12 games last season, the Vikings only allowed 7 first-quarter points. They also had 3 shutouts and allowed their opponent an average of 175 total yards per game.
There's only one word you can use to describe this defense, and that was dominant. Whether it was the secondary led by Illinois State commit LaVoice McCoy or the linebacker group led by Morehouse commit Xavier McKinney, there were absolutely no holes in this defense. McCoy and McKinney combined for 140 tackles on the season. They were absolutely spectacular. And Jalen Olakun was another force. He led the team with 79 tackles and 7 sacks.
10 wins for the Vikings this season, and there were some great ones along the way. Let's start with week 2 when the Vikings traveled to Mishawaka, Indiana to face the Penn Kingsmen.
Now, the Kingsmen are known in Indiana as an absolute powerhouse. 15 years, 5 state titles. What more can you say? But hey, the Vikings held them to just 154 total yards of offense, and Sean Allen easily outgained them, rushing for 4 touchdowns and 280 yards.
In week 5, where the Vikings took on their conference rival, the Lincoln Way East Griffins. The best teams in the state battled it out for the top spot in the state and the conference.
Yeah, the Vikings led that game early, and it was close at halftime, but the Griffins proved why they were the #1 team in the state as they pulled off the 28-14 win.
Tough loss for the Vikings, but they bounced back right away, beating Sandburg 34-0 and Lincoln Way West 35-0. Week 7 was a matchup everyone was waiting for. HF would face off against their biggest rival, the Bolingbrook Raiders, in a brawl for the Alec Anderson Trophy.
It's always a battle when the Brook comes to town. This game was so close, it literally came down to the final play of the game when Bolingbrook tried to win it with a 2-point conversion attempt that was initially going to be an extra point attempt, but the snap was bobbled, and man, that Vikings defense came up big, stopping Bolingbrook at the 1-foot line, securing the 14-13 victory.
The Vikings would win out at the rest of the regular season and would gain the #6 seed for the playoffs. After handling Curry in the first round of the playoffs, beating them 53-6, the Vikings would have a big match up against a solid 11 seed, the Neuqua Valley Wildcats.
Yeah, this game was really rough. Neuqua Valley came in and just played dirty with multiple hits after the whistle and just dirty plays overall. But the Vikings stayed composed and stayed focused and controlled the clock. Sean Allen rushed for 352 yards and 4 touchdowns in the 38-22 victory.
The Vikings would then advance to the quarterfinals for a rematch against Lincoln Way East. The game of the week in Frankfort, and everyone was there.
Yeah, unfortunately, the Viking offense, outside of a 75-yard rushing touchdown by Dominic Jones on a 4th down, the offense just couldn't get it going. It was all Lincoln Way East that game, and they ran away with a 26-7 win.
Not the way the Vikings wanted to finish, but still another solid season for the Vikings, who can look forward to some serious talent returning for next year.
Oh yeah, most definitely. They will be back next year. It will be amazing. I can't wait to see what they have in store.
And that's your sports wrap on the HF Viking football team. Tune in next week as we'll look at the record-breaking season of the girls volleyball team. It all happens right here on VTV Sports Wrap. For Jotham Israel, I'm Joe Sullivan.